The most shocking part of this entire feud is not the diss tracks. It's that 50 Cent publicly floated the idea that T.I. might not even be King Harris's real father, and the internet treated it like sport. No paperwork, no proof, just a rumor with a nuclear payload. Here's why that one line hit so hard. In hip-hop, money is flex. Bars are flex. But family is identity. And when you attack someone's identity, it stops being entertainment and starts being war. We're talking about Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, an artist who built an entire second career off understanding one thing better than almost anybody alive. Attention doesn't follow fairness. Attention follows impact. And on the other side, we've got Clifford T.I. Harris, Atlanta royalty, a man who has spent 2 decades branding himself as King of the South, a father, a husband, a businessman, and a spokesperson for respect. So when this feud was supposedly about a Verzuz battle, fans were ready for the normal stuff. Who has more hits? Who has the better catalog? Who had the bigger era? But then the energy changed, because 50 didn't aim at T.I.'s music first. He aimed at the people around him. And once a spouse and a son are in it, you're no longer arguing about rap. This wasn't about music anymore. Now, before we go any further, 2 things can be true at the same time. 1, 50 Cent has a history of trolling and winning fights without dropping a record. 2, even trolling can become cruelty when you target the wrong nerve. So the real question is, was this calculated promo? Was this personal revenge? Or was this the moment hip-hop's internet beef era crossed into something we can't walk back from? Let's rewind. The tension didn't start this year. It's been simmering for years, quietly, because both men were too big to ignore each other. In the late 2000s, T had major legal trouble. AP archive coverage around that era described the arrest and weapons case moments that became part of hip-hop's rumor economy, the kind of headlines that never fully leave an artist's name. And in hip-hop, you know what happens next. People don't just ask, "What happened?" They ask, "What did you do to get out of it?" That's where the snitch narrative starts circling. And 50 Cent, whether he believed it or not, understood something ugly but effective. If you can get the public to question a man's honor, you don't have to prove anything. You just let the question live. Even in the original video's own transcript, the vibe is clear. Lines get interpreted as accusations, and those interpretations become their own truth online. Fast forward to 2026. T appears on a major platform, talking like the Verzuz conversation was real. Then 50 acts like he doesn't know what T is talking about. And that's where ego gets involved. Because imagine you're T, a man whose brand is status, and someone implies you're making things up publicly. That should have been a wake-up call. It was not. Instead, the feud migrates to the place where 50 Cent is undefeated. Instagram, memes, captions, screenshots. And then the post happens. An unflattering Tiny Harris photo gets pushed into the algorithm like a grenade. Now pause. This is where people watching at home usually split. Some of you say, that's just 50 being 50. Others say, dragging a wife is corny. But here's the part most people skip. When you drag a wife in public, you're not just attacking the wife. You're forcing the husband to choose between 2 identities, artist or protector. And once that choice is forced, the spiral begins. This is the dark core of the story. There are things in hip-hop that are considered fair game. Your clothes, your sales, your old beefs, your failures. But then there are things the culture quietly treats as sacred. Kids, spouses, and dead parents. And once those get pulled into it, the beef stops being about pride. It becomes about pain. Now, the paternity insinuation, is King really your son? That's not a rap jab. That's an attempt to detonate a family from the inside. Because paternity isn't just biology in public conversation. It's shame, it's humiliation, it's legacy. And it lands especially hard when the target is someone like T.I., who built part of his public image around being a father with a visible family brand. And right when this is happening, there's another shadow behind the family name that makes everything more toxic. The long-running public allegations involving T.I. and Tiny. In 2021, ABC News reported a statement from their attorney Steve Sadow pushing back hard, saying, quote, "The Harrises have not spoken to or been contacted by the Los Angeles Police Department or any member of law enforcement," and criticizing anonymous accusations as limiting their ability to respond, ABC News. And years later, Billboard covered a 2024 civil suit alleging drugging and sexual assault. Allegations the couple emphatically and categorically denied in a statement, adding, quote, "For 3 years we have maintained our innocence and refused to pay these extortionate demands for things we didn't do." No criminal conviction, but the controversy exists in public memory. So when 50 Cent jokes about Tiny, he's not joking in a vacuum. He's poking a bruise the internet already knows is there. Now here's your first engagement bomb, because we need to be honest about what we're watching. Comment below, yes or no. Did 50 cross the line first by dragging Tiny and hinting at paternity? Because if your answer is yes, then King's reaction starts to look like defense. But if your answer is no, then King's reaction starts to look like the moment a kid stepped into grown politics. And speaking of King, this is where the story turns from messy to dangerous. Because King didn't just respond. He reached for the one thing that could hurt 50, his mother. 50 Cent's mother, Sabrina Jackson, died when he was a child, something he has spoken about publicly in emotional interviews. Own.
So when King goes there, when he starts posting and referencing grave imagery, the internet doesn't just react. The internet chooses sides like it's a courtroom.
And that brings us to the twist most channels miss. Here's the twist. A lot of people think this story is 50 Cent versus T.I. It's not. This is 50 Cent versus the idea of legacy. Because what does a paternity rumor really do? It doesn't just embarrass T.I. It undermines the entire family brand that reality TV, interviews, and public appearances helped build. It reframes King Harris from the Prince of Atlanta royalty into a question mark. And when you reduce someone's child to a question mark, you aren't just insulting the dad. You're shaping how the public treats the son for years. That's why this hurt. Now here's the second twist. 50's strategy isn't to win with bars. His strategy is to win by making you repeat the story. Because every time you say, 50 said King isn't his real son, you just did 50's marketing for him. You just spread the virus. And that's why his most powerful weapon isn't a diss track, it's a caption. Which brings us to the surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary rumor, because that quote explains what game he's playing. According to iHeart's coverage, 50 posted a screenshot of an article about the rumored project and wrote, "Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy doc? I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're gonna ask about your 20 sexual assault cases." Capital Extra also quoted the same caption language in its reporting of the since-deleted post. Read that again. That's not just trolling. That's a threat wrapped in PR language. I've done this before, I can do it again. And I know exactly which topic will follow you everywhere. So the twist is simple. The beef is the trailer. The LOL is the marketing. Now let's talk about what's happening in real time. You have T.I. and his camp responding like it's 2005. Songs, diss records, direct challenges. And you have 50 responding like it's 2026. Meme culture, selective silence, and timing. That difference matters because it changes how the public scores the feud. In a rap battle era, bars mattered most. In the algorithm era, emotional clips matter most. So when King is posting in raw emotion, the internet clips it, reposts it, debates it. And when 50 responds with something as cold as LOL, it's the perfect fuel. Now, let's use the LOL decoded technique, because a lot of people misunderstand what that LOL actually does. When someone responds to grief and rage with LOL, they're not always saying it's funny. Sometimes they're saying, I refuse to let you see me hurt. I refuse to let you control my emotions. I refuse to give you the win of my pain. It's emotional armor, but that armor has a cost. Because to the audience, LOL reads like cruelty, and cruelty is what triggers moral debate. Now we're at the moment where both sides are somehow right and wrong. Perspective flip. If you believe 50 started it by dragging Tiny, then King is defending his mother like any son would. But if you believe King crossed the ultimate line by invoking a dead mother, then 50's LOL reads like restraint, because he didn't escalate on wax, he escalated with silence. Both sides can make a case, and that's why the comments never stop. But we're not done, because the second layer, buried under the memes, is where the real story lives. Here's the buried layer. This feud isn't just personal, it's structural. It's what happens when hip-hop generations collide. T.I is from an era where reputation is defended with presence, with directness, with pull-up energy. 50 Cent is from an era where reputation is defended with strategy. Make the opponent swing, then let the public laugh at the swing. And King Harris? King is from the era where your entire identity is built in public before you even fully become yourself. So when King posts, he isn't just talking back. He's building an archive. Every reaction becomes searchable. Every screenshot becomes permanent. That's why paternity rumors are so dangerous. Because even if they're false, they don't disappear. They become a stain you have to live around. Now connect that to the documentary tease. If 50 is truly leaning into a docuseries-style narrative, if he's positioning himself as the one who brings receipts, then starting with a family humiliation rumor does something specific. It makes the audience feel like the Harris family is hiding something, even if they aren't. That's the power of insinuation. And here's the most uncomfortable truth. The internet rewards insinuation more than it rewards evidence. No case was ever filed. No arrest was ever made. No proof was ever shown for the paternity claim. But the debate still went platinum. Which brings us to the next engagement rehook. Because if you made it this far, you already feel how impossible this is to judge. Comment below, yes or no, should a son ever bring up a dead mother, no matter what started the beef? Because your answer reveals how you see the culture, not just the celebrities, you. Now, here's the shareable quote of this entire video. When a rumor becomes a weapon, the truth becomes collateral damage. And here's where I finally drop the thesis, right near the end, because this is the part people don't want to admit. The real story isn't who won. The real story is what we reward. We reward humiliation. We reward family disrespect. We reward the most shocking version of the headline. And celebrities, being human, adapt to what we reward. That's why 50's caption about the documentary rumor lands like a business move. Because if attention equals leverage, then controversy becomes currency. And if controversy becomes currency, then crossing the line stops being a mistake. It becomes a strategy. That's the darkest possibility in this whole thing. Not that 50 is trolling, but that trolling might be a blueprint for how hip-hop conflict gets monetized now. Through clips, allegations, insinuations, and the feeling that a bigger project is coming. And if that's true, then everybody involved is both victim and participant. So what happens next? Does 50 drop a record? Does T.I keep dropping diss tracks to force him to rap? Does the surviving T.I and Tiny idea become a real documentary? Or was the threat the product the whole time? iHeart/103 Jams. And what about King? If you're King Harris, you have to live with the fact that millions of strangers watched you defend your mother and judged whether you did it the right way. That's a heavy sentence for a 21-year-old. And if you're T.I, you have to live with something worse. A man can recover from insults, but a family recovers from questions slowly. Because once the internet asks, "Is he really your son?" it never stops asking. This wasn't about music anymore. Zoom out. Hip-hop used to debate lyrics. Now it debates boundaries. And maybe that's the real legacy question this feud leaves behind. If the biggest moments in rap beef are no longer songs, but screenshots, what does that teach the next generation? That clout is worth any cost? That attention is worth any pain? That family is just content? Or does this moment finally force the culture to draw a line that actually sticks? Because the truth is, everybody keeps saying it's just the internet. But the internet is where reputations live now. So I'll leave you with one unanswered question. When the next beef comes, and it will we reward the person who had the best bars, or the person who crossed the line first? This wasn't about music anymore.